single sentence, emerging without full context, has shaken the emotional foundation of armies around the world. "I'm sorry, I know this stresses you out." The softly spoken line in a short clip, believed to be from Taehyung to Jungkook, has now become the epicenter of ongoing debate and speculation. Not only because of its emotional intensity, but due to the inevitable question, is this Taehyung's confession that he caused the strain in their relationship? Or is it a reflection of systemic pressure long suppressed by HYBE's power structure? The statement, although never officially aired, appeared in a snippet of interaction captured in a private setting and quickly spread across various social media platforms. Armies, who have always been vigilant observers of every member's gesture, reacted with two waves of emotion: deep sadness and restrained anger. But beyond that, a more pressing question arises. Does this apology indicate that the conflict between Jungkook and Taehyung is real and internal? Or are they actually victims of a far more complex internal dynamic that they never fully controlled? Until now, the narrative surrounding BTS has been emotional unity, boundless trust, and unwavering teamwork. But since early last year, communication patterns between members seem to have shifted. Jungkook and Taehyung, once famously close, were rarely seen together. Not only in official promotions, but also in daily interactions and social media content. Many fans noted that in several moments when they were supposed to appear together, one was consistently absent. And now, with an apology strongly believed to be from Taehyung, speculations once thought exaggerated suddenly feel much more plausible. Does Taehyung feel guilty for making decisions that affected their relationship? Or is he merely expressing frustration over a situation he couldn't change? An apology in the context of personal relationships can carry broad meanings. But if linked to systemic pressure from management, it could mean that Taehyung was actually forced to take steps that distanced him from Jungkook, not of his own will. In such a scenario, can we really blame Taehyung? Or is this a silent form of sacrifice that we've never fully acknowledged? What raises serious concern is that this moment came shortly after a series of major projects were launched without Taehyung's active involvement. Jungkook was seen dominating solo promotional campaigns, even collaborating with major international names. Meanwhile, Taehyung seemed increasingly isolated, more focused on individual activities that received less attention from the company. Is this mere coincidence? Or part of a strategic separation plan long ago? One aspect that strengthens the assumption that Taehyung's apology is more than just a personal matter is the context of Jungkook's expressions in recent appearances. In several interviews and live broadcasts, Jungkook appeared restrained, more careful when discussing topics about other members, especially when public questions touched on his relationship with Taehyung. Behind the smiles he displayed, the public noticed unusual silences, pauses suggesting an unspoken pressure. If we try to examine this dynamic more deeply, one thing that stands out is the imbalance in spotlight distribution among members. Many fans believe that management has been heavily pushing Jungkook's solo narrative while slowly reducing Taehyung's role in the global promotional landscape. If that's true, then Taehyung's apology might not stem from direct wrongdoing, but rather from guilt for going along with the flow that pulled him away from a teammate he deeply trusted. In such circumstances, the apology becomes a personal expression of regret born out of structural pressure. Yet we must not ignore another possibility, that this dynamic was intentionally created by certain parties to foster emotional distance between members, supporting a marketing strategy and solo narrative that is more commercially beneficial. If this is true, then not only are Taehyung and Jungkook victims, but also the millions of armies who have built trust in the seven become one narrative that now feels fragile. The question is Taehyung's apology an admission of involvement in this scenario? Or a signal of desperation from a friend who no longer has the power to resist the system? While some fans choose to accept this as a normal dynamic in friendships, others see it as a symptom of cracks in BTS's internal structure, long neatly concealed. The absence of clarification from any party only intensifies speculation. Even in K-pop culture, where image is everything, silence can be louder than 1,000 explanations. Therefore, the only tool left for the public is to carefully read the small signals arising from nonverbal interactions, facial expressions, and fragments of narratives from scattered social media videos. However, in this uncertainty, we must also ask ourselves, do we truly understand the reality behind the scenes? Are we perhaps reading too much into something we don't fully comprehend? Or conversely, are we being positioned to remain unaware so that profitable narratives can remain controlled? Skepticism is key in handling issues like this. We cannot simply trust a single snippet of information, a short clip, or a sad expression. But we also can't ignore recurring patterns and increasingly visible signs of emotional disconnection that can no longer be hidden. Taehyung's apology, in this context, can be many things. It could be an apology for words, actions, or decisions. But it could also be a symbol of guilt for being unable to resist. And if this is indeed a form of surrender to a dynamic greater than himself, then the public must ask further. Who made him feel the need to apologize? And who actually owes whom an apology? This situation brings us to a complex moral dilemma. If we blame Taehyung for the apology, we may have failed to understand the emotional context and pressure he's under. But if we absolve him of all responsibility, we may also ignore the possibility that personal decisions played a part in the tension. Therefore, the public must not seek a scapegoat, but demand transparency and honesty, not only from the members, but from the structure controlling their narrative. Ultimately, we must all ask, is this truly Taehyung's fault? Or is it simply the result of a bigger, more complex, and more hidden conflict than what we see on the surface? In a world where every idol's move is recorded and analyzed, perhaps the truth lies beyond public reach. But as long as voices like that apology remain faintly audible, the public has the right to keep asking and to keep searching. The brief statement claimed to be an apology from Taehyung to Jungkook has created waves of anxiety among fans. However, what should be scrutinized is not just the content of the apology, but its context. Did it come purely from Taehyung's personal awareness, or is it a reflection of invisible systemic pressure? Why is this apology happening now and not earlier? Who actually controls this narrative? Are we witnessing an authentic emotional drama, or a grand scenario designed to deflect from deeper issues? It cannot be denied that HYBE's name often floats amid speculations about the growing distance between these two BTS members. Taehyung and Jungkook, once seemingly inseparable, now find themselves in the shadow of a narrative split that can no longer be ignored. And now, as this apology circulates without direct clarification, the public faces a major dilemma. Is what's happening the truth that must be accepted, or merely a fabrication played for certain interests? Information about the apology first surfaced from video clips re-uploaded repeatedly on TikTok and Twitter, with no clear original source. In the clip, Taehyung appears to utter several sentences interpreted as regret over past actions believed to have hurt Jungkook. However, there's no clarity about when, in what context, or to whom those words were actually directed. Thus the question, are we truly witnessing a real event, or just an illusion shaped by clever editing and a preset narrative? If this is a sincere apology, why is it done indirectly and vaguely? Why wasn't it expressed through official communication channels or even in a clear and transparent forum? Or is there a greater control determining how and when a narrative is allowed to emerge? This is not just an ethical question, but a structural one touching the core of how information is managed and presented to the public. Meanwhile, Jungkook's response to the news has remained silent. No statement, no hint, no verification. And in that silence, the tension grows. Jungkook's silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. It could be a silent resistance to a narrative formed outside himself. Or maybe he's bound by a contract that prevents him from responding freely. Is this a sign of greater pressure behind the scenes? Or rather proof that this is merely a cleverly orchestrated emotional manipulation? We must ask, why is an apology like this not delivered personally, but instead spread through digital platforms prone to manipulation? Why is the public, the drama's audience, given incomplete fragments open to misinterpretation? Who really benefits from the spread of this unclear information? Taehyung? Jungkook? or the entities behind their image distribution. If it's true that their relationship is strained due to HYBE's internal dynamics, the next question is, why can't such a large agency prevent this rift from surfacing? Is this part of a rebranding strategy? Or, even more subtly, a method to fragment member solidarity for more controlled management? What if the apology narrative is actually an instrument to divert attention from a more substantial core issue? We can't turn a blind eye to the fact that Korea's entertainment industry, especially major agencies like HYBE, has a long history of shaping narratives, editing reality, and crafting illusions of perfection. So, every sudden event that appears without full context must be approached very cautiously. Let's not become part of a system that spreads hoaxes, further strengthening unseen manipulation. An apology, if sincere and pure, should be personal. But when it's turned into viral public consumption without clarification, its essence changes, from accountability into a social drama tool. Is this emotional exploitation or mere accident? What are the psychological consequences of spreading such narratives to emotionally attached fans? Furthermore, we need to question the authority of information. If this narrative emerged from social media, which we know lacks strong validation mechanisms, why do so many immediately believe it without filtering the truth? Have we lost our critical thinking in this viral era? Or are we conditioned to consume anything that touches our emotions without asking? Who benefits from all this? Amid all this noise, one thing is crucial. Not a single credible source has confirmed that the apology was truly directed at Jungkook. Therefore, we must ask, why is this news allowed to spread without confirmation or clarification? Is it because clarification would reveal HYBE's internal communication strategy? Or because some parties prefer the public to drift in speculation, distracting them from a deeper issue? Of course, it would be easy for the public to simply believe, especially when the narrative seems to touch emotional chords long built up, longing for Taehyung and Jungkook's closeness, disappointment over the visible distance, and anger at the agency seen as worsening internal relations. But are we truly sure this is real? Is Taehyung truly at fault? Or is he being made a scapegoat in a narrative created by a larger structure? Thus, it's important for us not just to be consumers of information, but also smart observers. This article does not aim to declare the information true or false, but to remind that not everything visible is real. Much of the circulating information comes from edited TikTok videos, assumption-filled tweets, and YouTube channels prioritizing clickbait for views. We're not saying the apology is fake, but we also can't say it's completely true. Therefore, the greatest responsibility now lies with you, the reader. Are you sure the apology is real? Or do you feel this is just a narrative game? Are the emotions you feel now a response to truth, or a result of a carefully constructed scenario? We live in an age of rapid information, but also one filled with falsehoods disguised as truth. Therefore, vigilance, skepticism, and courage to question are our main tools to stay sane amid this storm of speculation. Don't let your emotions be used as validation for a narrative that may not be legitimate. And most importantly, don't believe something just because it went viral, because behind every video clip, behind every viral sentence, there may be interests far greater than just the relationship between two individuals. And maybe this apology isn't a closure, but the beginning of something much deeper. So, are you truly ready to face the truth? If this narrative turns out to be the lie you've believed all along?